Hello my friends, welcome back to part 2. I hope you're all keeping very, very well out there. Here we are, look at this, looking very nice, isn't it? This little landscape in a painting. It's looking out the window into a landscape. I think it's looking very nice indeed. The tinted canvas is really helping to bring those warm colours through. So a nice little lesson in tinting canvas. Let's move on to part 2. I'm going to focus perhaps down on the side where the sofa or the couch is, with cushions and that kind of thing. So I'll kind of teach you how to simplify all of this, and we'll do it in just kind of basic steps. I won't go into huge detail with all of this, but you know, when you're confronted with a subject like this, and it may look very complicated in a photograph, you see lots of different shapes and colours and all of that. I'm going to show you how to just sort of simplify it, to help you deal with these types of paintings, just to kind of go through basic techniques and just using a little bit of colour theory as well. And then finally we'll do that lovely fireplace with the glowing hot fire coming out. So that's the plan. I hope you're enjoying the tutorial so far. I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas as well, and have a lovely, wonderful, happy New Year. So look, let's crack on and have a bit of fun with this and see how this looks. So don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. Right, so let's go and sort this side out here. Lots of warm colours up here, so I'm going to just take my large brush and let's go with kind of a burnt sienna, maybe burnt umber perhaps, and let's just get a nice warm dark colour filled in up here. And that lovely sienna now underneath is really going to bring this warmth right through. I'm taking a little bit of black just to darken it down just a little bit. That's better. What we want to do now is we kind of want to transition from this into that colour. Now on the photograph, you can see the window goes up very high, doesn't it? It goes right to the top, but I kind of made it down slightly. But we can fix that. Let's not worry about that. I'm just going to concentrate now on filling this in. As I'm coming across, I'm going to take some cadmium red, and I want to start softening that little bit of cadmium red into the bluey shade. That will prevent, maybe a little bit of magenta, that will prevent any greens and any muddy kind of shades coming through. So I'm just going to very gently now kind of go across into my blues with this kind of pinky brown colour, and allow that just to disappear in. You see that? It just kind of merges in nicely together. Now one thing I am going to do is I'm going to take a bit of linseed oil and just coat this in linseed oil, because this canvas grain is a very rough grain, okay? Now it's a good canvas, a good quality canvas, but it's a very rough grain. It was kind of all they had in stock at the time, and you can even hear that. It's a very rough grain, so I'm finding I'm going to have to dragging the brush a lot around the canvas to cover the canvas. So I'm just going to give it a coat of linseed oil on its own. That will help all the paint swirl around nicely on the canvas. Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. That's all we need. Let's carry on. So we have a kind of a pinky dark browny sort of a shade up here. That's really, really helping now a lot. I'll take a bit of black and a bit of brown. What I tend to do, now you can see we've photographs, we've paintings on the wall, we've curtains, we've all of that. What I tend to do with a subject like this is, I generally tend to cover everything in one colour, okay? That might not be the correct way to do it, but I generally cover everything in one colour. Say, for instance, I'm going to cover this now in dark shade, right? And then I'm going to use lighter colours to pick out the little subjects in the painting. That's what I kind of tend to do. And I'll show you now what I mean when I'm doing this. So let's just go along over the cushions, okay? Get that nice dark colour filled in. You can see we have a nice rich dark sort of in behind the curtains, so let's just pull some dark colour in there. Let's get a bit of black, even a bit of red, put a dark colour in there, and then we've a kind of a very dark line just in the back. You see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of putting in darks wherever I see them. You know, it's a kind of a very loose way of painting. I'm going to put a bit of dark up here as well, soften it away. Then we have our picture frame. Let's not worry about the picture frame for now. I'm going to start the curtains. Now, the curtains, quite simple, really. Looking at the photograph again, just keep looking and just tell yourself what colours you see. So I see it's a kind of a soft yellow, isn't it? Let's go for a Naples yellow, a little touch of magenta on its own, and let's just put that in like this. Now we want a lot of paint to get that outside line nice and sharp, okay, and crisp. Naples yellow, touch of cadmium red, and I'm simply going to kind of cut across the window frame like this and come out and the front of that little jug, just like so. It's going to go up and out, disappear up into the darkness then, okay? So I'll take a bit of burnt umber sienna and I'll soften that away up sort of into the darkness. You see what I mean? And let that just disappear. And there we are. Then we're going to go into some kind of dark colours, a bit of burnt umber I would say, and a bit of magenta. Go for a nice pinky brown, and let's just go like this again. And then I'm going to go into some blue and some magenta. So now I'm going to get a very kind of a deep purple in here. Plenty of each, okay? Plenty of magenta especially. Get it nice and rich and pinky. And let's go up here and put that colour in. Get more. I'm using now all dry colours on this. There's no thinners really in this because the linseed oil was a base for me. So I only need to put paint on its own up here. And just a couple of lines to sort of suggest, you know, the darkness of the shaded areas in that curtain. Again, we come down here now, we have a little bit of a dark coming across here, sort of filtering up from the base of the curtains. And it's simply a case of shapes. It's putting in shapes. That's all it is, okay? Let's get some black. I'm going to put some nice black lines like this, look, just to suggest in between the curtains, just some dark spots. Go across up here and let that filter away up into the darkness above. You see that? Now we're slowly building it up. This is not something that you're going to be able to just do in 5 minutes. You build up your colours and your layers. Next I'm going for burnt sienna, little cadmium red and some Naples yellow. I'm going to get this nice sort of a reddy shade now, and I'm going to put some of that in here as well. And then clean the brush again in between, get some sienna. And we put some nice warm sienna in there as well. So what I'm trying to achieve is the sort of kind of a soft blended colour where everything kind of merges together, but you still see the highlights and the shades. You see what I mean? You still see bits of highlights and stuff in there. I'm going to now go for some nice bright shades, and I'm taking some Naples yellow with a little cadmium red and some white. And I want to just get some really nice bright colours here and there, just kind of on the outside. And as it comes in, I'll start taking some sienna and start softening some sienna. You see the way all these colours now are kind of mixing together. And we can put a little hint of detail in there as well, if you like. I'm going to take some cadmium red. Let's say cadmium red and a little hint of sienna. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just suggest some rich red little bits on the curtain. They could be just a little design feature, okay? Just, you see, just small little dabs of colour. It doesn't have to look like anything in particular. It could just be a suggestion of little designs on the curtains. Go right over, like so. And you can see it's just a suggestion. Now, I'm pretty happy with that. The last thing I will do is maybe just take a little bit of white and pop a little bit of white just here and there on the outside, just to catch the light, really catch that light. That just kind of gives it a nice, a real nice light coming through the window. And I think I'll leave that for now. I'll go over and do the picture frame. Let's get this picture frame done. It's kind of blended into the background, but you can still sort of see it, if that makes sense. It's a kind of a tricky one. So I'm going to just go like this, okay? I'm going to start putting some dark lines. And I'll put one up here, like so. Then I go up at an angle like this. That gives you a bit of perspective, doesn't it? Now I'll take a little bit of black and I'll just kind of suggest some shadow here and there, particularly from the back outwards, okay? Because it's getting lighter as it comes out towards the window. Just like that. Put a little bit of black down in here, just for a little bit of detail. I'm cleaning my brush again, and I'm going to go into a nice warm colour for the centre of this. Some cadmium red, burnt sienna, a little bit of Naples yellow. And I'm just going to go and fill in the picture. Whatever the picture is, I don't know. It could be anything. And let's just fill that in with this light colour. Now, let's just be very loose with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think I'll take some cadmium yellow, my friends. I'm going to start warming and putting some oranges in here. A little bit of cadmium yellow. Let's give the brush a good clean, a really good clean. Let's get some cadmium red. And let's try a bit of cadmium yellow as well. Let's get some nice oranges in this painting. Just for a bit of warmth, because I really do want to warm up that side, because the glow from the fire is hitting the wall over there. So cadmium red and cadmium yellow, and I'm going to just start popping in a nice kind of a warm, rich, deep orange. You can mess around with the mixes as you like, okay? That's what I would say. Just kind of mess around, have a bit of fun with your mixes. And you see, I'm even going to just sort of dart a little bit of that rich orange here and there. It doesn't have to be one full colour, okay? You see, I could just sort of dart it around here and there as well. Give a little bit of light. And this is a very slow process. You're building up your colours. What I find a lot of beginners will do, especially beginners, they'll try and get the colour they want in one go. They'll just try and get that colour on and that'll be it. But you need to kind of build up. What I've learned over the years, you really need to build up your layers. It takes time. Just don't rush this. Just take your time with this. Give it a chance and give yourself a chance. Give yourself a bit of patience and a bit of time. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just take your time with all of this. Now I'm going to suggest, again, a little bit of detail in the frame on the wall. Let's go for a little bit of magenta, a little bit of cadmium red perhaps, a bit of burnt sienna. This could be anything. Let's just put a couple of swirls here and there. Again, just to suggest that there's something there. We can't really see what it is on the painting on the wall, but there's something there. You see, let's just pop a little bit of, couple of swirls here and there. And we can then soften all of this in Get a bit of black, a little bit of black in there as well. It looks to me like it could be possibly a bit of an abstract on the wall. Okay? Now, I'm getting a very small detailed brush, my little liner brush, and I'm going to pop some dark around the frame just to give it a little bit of definition. Let's start here. A little bit there, a little bit across there, just to kind of cover off the centre painting. There we are. We have a hint of a painting on the wall, don't we? And I'm then going to offer a little bit of light in this painting. A little bit of light just on the frame of the painting, okay? Let's go like this. Flick it down. Let it go. Now a bit more Sienna. You see how I'm just leaving that disappear off? Just where it's maybe catching the light from the window. Now if you want to dull that down, if you think it's too bright, okay, maybe that's a little bit too bright, a bit of burnt sienna over that. And there we are. And that is absolutely fine. I don't see anything wrong with that. I'll put maybe a little bit of a border around on the inside, just to suggest a little bit of a border or something. And that's absolutely fine, I think. I don't see anything too wrong with that. Nice little impression. And there we are. Okay, moving down to our cushions. We can come back now to a lot of this later on. In fact, there is one thing which I will show you. You see up here on top of those curtains. Let's put a little bit of a purple again up there like what we did in part one. Let's get a bit of light purple, and let's just pop a little bit of light purple up here to emphasize the shade. Bring the shade out. You see? I think that really works. We're moving on down to our cushions. This is kind of the same process for me now. Again, I'm just going to literally cover these in one colour and then start putting in highlights. Now, do take your time with this when you're doing this sort of work. Try not to jump ahead and, you know, get it all kind of in one go. Take your time, do different layers. You can leave it a while if you like and come back to it later on. Just take your time. Let's do the cushions. I'll take a large brush, and again, I'm looking for a base colour here. I'm thinking burnt sienna and burnt umber. I'm going to go for that base colour. Okay, let's come out like this, and it comes down. Let's go burnt umber, bit of black and a bit of magenta. Get a bit of pink in there. It's a nice pinky undertone there. And we'll go up. Let's take a little bit of Naples yellow to that. You see how I'm picking up colours here? So it lightens as it goes up. So I'm going to just take a little bit of Naples yellow. You can be very loose with your mixes in this type of a painting. They don't have to be perfect every time. Now we have a lovely rich red cushion down here, don't we? Let's take some cadmium red and some burnt umber. Pop some cadmium red in there, look, just flick it through. Do whatever you like, you have a bit of fun. And then we go into some black and some cadmium red down here. Because you can see where it just gets dark as it comes down, doesn't it? So literally take some cadmium red and some black and give that a nice deep dark shade down here and soften it out. Then I see some black at the base back of this cushion here. So literally, as I said, when you see dark colours, just put a dark colour in. And you can kind of mix them together then as you're going. We have a little bit of magenta going on the base of this cushion down here. So flick it up, follow your brush strokes. And again, it doesn't have to be the very same as what you're painting. It just has to kind of look like what you're painting. You can add things in or take things out. It's up to you completely. And, you know, pretty soon or pretty early on, you're going to look at it and it's going to look kind of funny and it's not going to look the way you want. But you just keep going at it. Just keep adding colour. Just sit back, take your time and look. That's the most important part of painting, is sitting back and just looking, okay? That's very important. I'm just refilling my palette. Some black, some brown, and I think some magenta as well. Where is my magenta? There it is. Magenta is a fabulous colour. You should really try it if you haven't tried it. It's so flexible. It gives you just so many nice shades of colours, especially for landscapes. Now I'm going to switch brushes, taking some Naples yellow, burnt umber. I'll take a little bit of white, maybe a bit of Sienna. I'm going for this light shade over here. It's a very soft brown, isn't it? So let's just start popping this in. And it's sort of, it looks like the couch has this kind of blanket thrown over it or something like that, doesn't it? That's what it kind of looks like to me. It looks like it has something thrown over the couch. So I just kind of start lightening it a little bit first. Then I'm going to start taking some darker shades and I'm going to start incorporating some darker shades into it. Like so, look. The shape of the blanket kind of coming up. It can be a tricky thing to do, but just kind of wiggle your brush, I would say. I generally use the flat of my brush for most of these kind of things. I just wiggle my brush around very randomly, kind of dabbing, scraping. It's a very, very random kind of effect that I do. But you might have different techniques for this. And if you do, fantastic. If you have your own ways of doing things, then excellent. You know, try them. Then I want to do the very same with some highlights. I'll try a little bit of Naples yellow, touch of white, and I'll try a few highlights. Again, you see, just kind of being very random with them. Now, most of the time when I'm doing this, I hardly even look at the reference photograph. I just kind of, I have a bit of fun and mess around with it myself. Because I think trying to copy something exactly never really works out. You know, I prefer to just try and have a go myself off it and just see what happens. I think it's much more enjoyment as well when you do it like that. Now let's get a bit of deep red. Put a bit of deep red in here. Cadmium red on its own. And then we can add some Sienna to give it a nice warmth. Go into the black. There's like a bit of a crease in the cushion down here, isn't there? Get some burnt umber. A bit of burnt umber in there. And let's get a bit of cadmium red and magenta. I'm just kind of picking up different shades to get some deep, deep reds, you know what I mean? That's all I'm doing. Get a rich, bright red again just in here. Bit of highlight, it's just kind of catching certain highlights here and there. And maybe a bit of black, just to show maybe a little bit of detail here and there. On maybe there's like a bit of a design, let's say there's a bit of a design on the cushion. And just kind of pop it in here and there, just dab it around. Okay, see what I mean? Just very, very loosely. Come down here, more black. And I know this may look like a very complicated tutorial for you to try, but as I said in part 1, you could take certain sections, if you just wanted to try the window on its own, on a painting itself, that would look fantastic, it really would, you know. So just give it a try. You won't know till you try. I'm going to put a bit of a dark just in here. Soften it up. Just that dark from the bottom of the cushion. Okay. And then we'll start lightening some of that cushion there. Get a bit of Naples yellow. Take a bit of a light grey perhaps. And let's just start popping in a little bit of light. Come over into the black and we'll soften that out. It needs to look like it's one cushion, you see. So going from the black into the bright, it needs to look like it's sort of all one cushion and not 2 or 3 separate cushions. There we go, you see? I think that looks quite nice. And again, we have some little designs on that as well. We could pop a little bit of red through there. You know, there's no particular reason for this. We could just dab a bit of colour into it. We could take a bit of Sienna with Naples yellow. We could dab a little bit of that in there as well. Very, very gently, barely dabbing, barely touching the cushion, look. Just very, very lightly. It just suggests that there's a bit of detail on the cushion. Even though we can't see what it is, it does kind of suggest that there's something there, which is nice. Let's take a bit of Naples yellow. Maybe just pop a little bit of Naples yellow like that. Very sort of hit and miss. And let's take a bit of burnt sienna. We could just suggest some different angles of lines on all of this. Then I'll go to some black. And I'll just, again, pop a little bit of black here and there. Now the final part of this is some highlight. Just on the outside where it's catching the light from the window. I'm going to go light blue, okay? A nice light blue, or a warm blue even. The same colour as all of this. So let's just take a bit of light blue. And then just try and soften it back ever so gently. To complement that, I'll take a bit of pink. A bit of light pink is nice. I always love a little bit of light pink, especially in paintings like this, because that will complement the blues. Now let's come down to the cushion below. The cover, the seat, the front of the seat. Let's pop some of that light blue in here. And then we have, I can see bits of a red going through that. Pop a little bit of a red over there. And I need some cadmium red again. We go through a lot of paint on this, don't we? But it's fine. It's only paint. Let's have a bit of fun. Let's go to some cadmium red. Get some deep cadmium red. And let's just soften some deep cadmium red. There's a nice kind of a red on this chair, isn't there? And just follow the direction of your brush strokes like this. Then we take a bit of Sienna, just nice Sienna. Pop a little bit of Sienna in there. And we grab some burnt umber. Get a bit of burnt umber. Now, as it comes to you, I want it to get darker. So, again, a bit of black. And I'm just very kind of lightly going over some of the red with the black, just to darken it down a little bit. As it comes towards us. You see? Just like that. And then we can start adding a few lights in through all of this. I see soft blues, do you? I see some nice soft blues in there. So let's take a nice soft blue and let's just put some nice soft blues here and there where we see it. And it's mixing through the pinks then, you see, you're getting some beautiful shades. When you mix that blue through the pink, it gives you the most beautiful colours. Let's put another one here, look like that. Let's just take that one out slightly. We get some nice really bright ones over by the window. And we also have maybe a little bit of Naples yellow. Pop a little bit of Naples yellow in. It's just to add to the design that you can see on the couch, on the cushion, okay? That's all it is, just to add a little bit of a design or something to it. And I think that's probably okay. I'm going to finally, before we finish up this part of the tutorial, just pop a little bit of black again in, just to sit those cushions down, okay? Soften it up, like so. I'll take a bit of burnt umber and Naples yellow, and just maybe for the top of this, soften down a bit of highlight. And I might just brighten the blue ever so slightly again, just for that cushion. Might just add a little bit more of a light blue on top. You see how I'm just kind of kissing the canvas just here and there with some of these highlights. Look, you can put a bit back here as well. So you're transferring the colours across your canvas. That helps the composition, I find. A little bit of white, just to really catch that light. And the same down here. And take a bit of red, just to continue this red theme going up into the cushion. So it's not just two separate colours, okay? Now you could soften all of this together if you like. You could. Just to lose some of the harshness of the brush stroke. You could just very gently, look, soften it back in. Just nice and gently. And there we are. I am going to do one more small thing while I'm in this area. Something I spotted. I'm just going to darken in under the windowsill on this side and drag it out. I just want to darken that section ever so slightly. And you see how I'm just dragging it across the grain of the canvas? So my brush strokes then are nice and soft as they disappear. Okay? Now it's up to you you know, how far you want to go with all of this detail. You can just have a basic amount of detail, or you can go absolutely crazy. It's up to you. But look, try it and just try to have a bit of fun with it. Get a nice bit of rich red now, just face off the front of that cushion there, look. Get a nice crisp line. And you could even maybe add a little bit of Naples yellow to it. Possibly just a little bit of a highlight. I'm going to leave it at that, my friends. I'm going to call this part 2 finished. We can kind of, now look, we can sort of add little bits here and there. You probably see things better than me from your angle where you're looking. Maybe just darken the back of that up there, and perhaps just add another little bit of dark through the curtain up there, just to again bring out the lighter sides of it. Okay, I'll leave it at that. So that's part 2 finished. I think that's coming on very, very nicely, don't you? Let me know what you think. And last but not least, we have a lovely fireplace to paint with lovely bright yellows and oranges bursting out of the fireplace, and we'll add some light across the painting then as well to help with the composition from that fire. So part 3 coming up very, very shortly. I think you will like part 3. It's going to be the pièce de résistance, finish off this lovely painting for the new year. Thank you so much for watching. I do sincerely appreciate it. Thank you so much. Do give a thumbs up, do subscribe, and let's try and get YouTube to share these videos to more and more people, because I feel a lot of people are missing out on nice tutorials. So give it a thumbs up. That will help YouTube to push it more and more and more. Okay, thank you so much. And also I'll be adding some new videos to my member page as well in the coming days and weeks. So lots going on over in the membership page as well. So if you would like to support me, pop over there and have a look and see what you think. In the meantime, I will see you very, very shortly for part 3. Thank you very, very much. I'm grabbing a coffee and I'll be right back.